Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Monday. And I have with me my beautiful friend Yanna Smith from Namibia again. So welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. It's freezing out here. For those of you watching the last few shows, you must probably think this is the only coat I have. Well, it's certainly the warmest. And much needed right now. So wow, we're in for the chill time here. So hello, beautiful Yanna. How are you? So good to
I'm
see
very
you.
well. Hello, good to see you too. How are you?
Also good, but it's so cool to connect with you because seriously, this is like the only time we get to talk. So we
I
end up
know.
speaking for like half an hour before the show, and then the schedule expires.
And then we have to call in Morné.
Anyway.
He's going, you guys are chatting. We delayed the broadcast.
But it's really
Hey,
cool to see you.
and
So,
you.
as always, you on these flippin' amazing expeditions of yours. And for those of you who haven't seen our previous interviews with Yana, please do. She's currently doing her PhD on the whole human wildlife conflict with Africa's first people, actually, who are living in the little corners of the country and pretty much being shoved there but by the governments and in the most appalling ways. So her previous interviews, actually, we highlight that. So I really want to encourage you to watch that because it's so interesting and fascinating. And what Yana's doing now is she's connecting, spending time with the first tribes of Africa who are actually even unheard of nowadays. And she's chatting to them about I call it, and I've coined this from the original, the Aboriginals, the Australia's first people, LORE, the law, LORE, as opposed to LAW, the law of the land. So, how do we live in harmony with the land, the wildlife? And it's incredible how when I say the native people, I really mean that in the deepest possible way because they are native to earth, they are native to their culture. They really are just native people and they have such an amazing connection with the earth. And quite frankly, if we could just take a little bit of what they're doing and implement it into our modern day world, I think we would be in a much better place. Anyway, enough of my nattering. Over to you.
What? You're supposed to ask me a question.
Since when do I have to ask you questions on anything?
Well, this is a live broadcast, Chantelle. We're not
I
sitting
know
on
we're
my
going to be
screen.
open right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I wanted to actually really just say to you, or to ask you then, is in Africa, right? Let's just talk about the faith and the missionaries. We're talking about pre-missionary faith, that basically the African people were living as part of their culture, right? Before, and I want to go, and I'm not going to say the year because I'll be wrong, but before, especially the Catholic Church and the churches, the missionaries from the churches were infiltrating into Africa and pretty much decided that the African people were, what do they call them?
Primitive, backwards, savages.
Savages. That was their favorite word. The colonizers loved to call them savages. So basically because the religion and the way they worshipped was so much different, so the church is infiltrated, and just on the off, just by the by, and we know exactly that the churches are there to traffic the kids. Not all of them, most of them, they are put there, the Catholic churches especially. So for me, that was part of this whole religious indoctrination that has really gotten their claws into Africa in the worst possible way. So um, when we go back to pre-missionary times in Africa, because the times, let's say, when we were savages backwards, and let's never forget how the colonizers came here and they were actually hunting. They were hunting the African people. They were hunting the Bushman people. They were hunting the Khoisan people. It was fun and games and sport for them. these are the first people of Africa. And interestingly enough, I just watched something on YouTube just before you and I came on about the skulls and stuff that have been found in Namibia especially and South Africa that definitely predates original man coming from Africa. So enough about me now. Over to you.
Okay. So I still don't have a question, but I'm ready to talk now.
No, I want to know about how they worshipped before the churches came along.
Yes. So we had mostly Finnish missionaries, so there's a lot of Lutheran influence here.
Just hang on, I want to just check you. You sound very soft. Is it just me? Do I need to put my volume up, or I want to just hear from someone in the chat? Can you guys hear Yanna?
Okay, is this better?
Okay, I've also turned mine up, so that might be, but it seems to be okay. Okay, sorry, carry on.
Okay, all right. So we had mostly the Finnish missionaries. They came to Namibia, and the very few of my communities, I'm currently, just for those who don't know, working with the Ovaherero people, and they came from Central Africa round about the 1500s, was that big Central African migration, which brought the dark-skinned blacks into the southern sort of the SADC region, which was Southern Africa, which we know today. Yeah. But it's interesting because so their god, his name is Njambi Karunga, known as Mukuru. He lives in heaven, but he's omnipresent. His most striking characteristic is his kindness. Human life is created by and is dependent on him, and all blessings ultimately come from him. He who dies a natural death is carried away by Njambi. As his essence is kindness, people do not fear him. Interesting. There's no fear. They venerate him. His blessings are gifts of kindness without any moral claims. And the belief in Njambi, and I think this is so powerful, has no moral strength. He stays in the clouds because when the clouds rise, his voice is heard. And it's interesting. So there's no fear and there's no moral strength to believing in him.
Wow.
Which is so different.
And it's just the essence of kindness. So really what Njambi is about then is just kindness and compassion and love, because really all of those are wrapped together.
Yes.
And it's interesting you talk about, you say he raises the clouds until his voice is heard. Would that be the rain and thunder then?
I'm assuming so, because my communities don't know him. The only thing they have left from Mukuru and their traditional faith is their holy fire. So interesting, I got this from Oxford, this information, from the Oxford Reference Library. My communities identify as Christian, but have a very, very strong link with their ancestors and their holy fire, and that's how they reach their ancestors. But they sort of seem to have worked out a system where Christianity and the ancestors are the telephone line to God. So the holy fire, each homestead has its own holy fire house, and the holy fire burns for each clan. And then the dead then speak to God on their behalf. So they don't speak to Mukuru directly, they speak to Mukuru through the ancestors. And I believe that might be a Christian derivative. I'm not sure. So yeah, I don't know much about either the traditional African faith or not. But what's really nice, and this is interesting, the Omumborombonga tree, which is just the leadwood tree.
Spell that quickly, even me. Orum what?
O-M, then U-M-B-O-R-O-M-B-O-N-G-A.
Umborombonga tree.
Yes, the lead tree.
Okay, wow.
It's totally sacred. There's a sacred site, which I'm not allowed to visit yet. I haven't been invited by the community, but very close to where I work. So the people came from the tree. And that's also what the Norse, our first Europeans believed, that Odin created us from the log. So there's so much together. But okay, so just to keep it short. So this is for the Herero, the Ovambo, the Tswana, and the Nama people. And the Mborombonga tree came forth in the beginning, a man and a woman. The woman was called Kamangundu, okay? And from her came the people. The Bergdamara, okay, let's leave that for a second. Then a discontented hetero girl ran away into the field and fell on a flat rock, upon which the Bergdamara and the baboons who live in the mountains on edible bulbs were born. The oxen also came out of the leadwood tree, while the sheep and the goats sprang from the flat rock of the Kahuku, which is the northwest of Namibia where I work. When the children of Kamungundu came out of the tree, the people killed an ox. A woman came and took a liver for her children. From these came the black people. Another woman took the lungs and the blood for her and her children, and from these came the red people. By the slaughtered ox, the people began to quarrel as to who should have the skin, which the Herero, considering themselves to be first among the nations, seized upon. Now became the enmity and the separation of the people. First, the Herero beat and drove away the Ovambu, who went north. They went north. They actually stayed north of the original migration because they could plant. They're very avid gardeners, and the Herero don't really traditionally plant. They do now out of necessity. So they went north. Excuse me, but then they returned and made peace with them. The Tswana went to the east, where they remained for a long time. Subsequently, they returned and robbed the Herero. They make mention of that, but were finally repulsed by them. So, and out of Mukuru came the holy fire. So the holy fire burns in each homestead, where I am now today as well. It burns in each homestead, and everywhere you go on these old stories, Chantelle, is an ox or a cow, cattle, the hide, everything it's the cattle. It's cattle.
But Yanna, we know that, I mean, the cattle, and especially the cow in Africa, is revered very, very highly. Not just Africa, look at India as well. I mean, even one of their gods, Lakshmi, is the cow. Because, and that's why in India, the cow is considered sacred because she gives milk. So she nurtures and she feeds, right?
But we know about Urur. In our pagan religion, we know about Urur, the Uroks.
Yes.
There's a rune dedicated to a cow, a cattle. What is it? A singular head of cattle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they really
absolutely.
are everywhere. And what's interesting for me is, in as strong as the cow, I don't know if I mentioned this in our last chat, I really should start making notes about the suicide rates and the strokes and that after the drought. A Herero man without any cattle is nothing. And the uptick in suicides and things that they've had in the conservancy. What's interesting for me is that exceptional degree of tolerance, even for the animals who kill their cattle, the wild animals. They still have this incredibly high degree of tolerance.
But I don't even think it's tolerance. It's really just an absolute connection with God, with nature, because they understand innately in every cell of their body that a lion is a lion needs to eat. And everyone who knows anything about Africa or wildlife knows a lion's not going to go and hunt 20 cattle at the same time. A lion will only hunt when it's hungry.
If they're in a kraal,
like all of them.
All.
Yeah.
So but if they are out grazing, they won't. Yeah.
Well, yes. Obviously, it's a soft target then, right? So it would be best just to keep them out.
It's also
but
very
the point
tasty.
Is, well,
they prefer beef, but they prefer it. You know, excuse me. I've worked in places with animals in captivity. You got any kind of beef, you give one big hunk of beef and you give something else to another lion, those two are going to fight over the beef. No, they like the beef. The beef is good. It's good. So
very interesting. Yeah. But it's, so everyone like just like we do. That's why cows are probably the most highly bred species, because the average human loves the taste of beef, right?
Yes.
Beef is a good thing. But just from also, if we're looking at and I know a friend of mine She's Irish, and she was working in Rwanda on an NGO for many years. And part of their mission there was, especially after the wars, was to build up the communities and assist with the communities. And one of the first things they did was give the woman a cow. They gave the woman in the household a female cow, obviously not a bull, a cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that cow was absolutely sacred. I mean, that cow they treat them better than their kids, I'm sure. That's and it's like there, it's next to the house, it goes out, they take it out, gets grazed, it gets amazing because that cow gives the milk and it nurtures, right?
Yeah.
So it's very incredible what they're doing. Just sorry about that. But when we were also just talking about the lion and the hunting and the beef and I mean, an animal's going to do what it's going to do. And what my point is, these people have a lot of respect for nature. So they don't go out and try and maim the animal because it's taken a cow.
No, in fact, they believe that they get backlash if they do.
Yes, they do that.
From the animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they believe that the current trouble that they are having is because of the way they treat them. And interestingly, again, they use the term poach our animals. Like they come and the lion comes and poaches the cow. And because of the way they respond to that, they get more and more trouble. So they are there's another woman who said that if a lion takes a cow, that's a case for you and for God. The lion is there. It's just a cow. And I am where the lion is, and the cow is where the lion is, and the lion is where the cow is. It just is.
Consciousness.
So they don't have that commercial farmer kind of vengeance towards these animals. Not even the elephants. Okay, we know the elephants are super, super special for the ODYSEE, but they don't have the vengeance I've seen on commercial farms for what the commercial farmers and even Namibia's law still refers to as vermin. There's none of that. And in fact, they believe that things were better in the old days. There were more wild animals when they were grazing their animals before Intosha National Park was established. They felt the system was better. Now there's less wild animals and they have to be kept behind fences. That's what they tell me.
Yeah, I know in Namibia there's a big
remarkable.
Yeah. But there's a big thing with a lot of the farmers in Namibia where they're actually doing this thing to take down the fences.
Yes. These are the conservancies. Yes, there are a bunch of private conservancies. I'm now working on government conservancies, so it's not private land; it's communal land. That's where I'm working with those communities. But there are private conservancies, sure, where you have got farmers that are also beginning to figure out. Chris Brown from the Chamber of Environment told us that roughly by about 2040, the entire grazing area of Namibia will be reduced. I cannot remember by how many percentage points, but literally we will have a little bit of grazing in the east of the country and then a north sort of central area left with climate change where you can actually farm cattle. And cattle will become less and less of a viable option for Namibian farmers. The soil is simply too dry and too hot. The grass won't grow. And the carrying capacity, the best we have in Namibia is in the east, in the Omaheke, which is 1 on 10, one cow on 10 hectares. That's the best grazing we've got if you want to do it sustainably. So if we're looking at a decline in cattle farming, then these oaks will have to begin to set up these conservancies and start focusing on the game, because game is resilient and can withstand drought because they adjust their feeding patterns and their feeding behavior.
Wow.
So, but that was just me going off on a tangent, sorry.
You're entitled to. No, that's actually quite amazing, though. Wow. So, from what you've seen in your outings, where you're going, etc., especially when it comes to this infiltration of now religion, right? Is there a conflict What is the conflict and how's it working out there?
They have no conflict at all. Some of the elders prefer to say, fine, they believe in Jesus, but instead of going to church to pray for rain, they'll go to the holy fire and speak to the ancestors. Others will go to church. And then, as Siegfried explains it to me, then the whole community is together. These guys are praying this way. These guys are praying this way. He says, but either way, the rain comes. So they have there's no
so
sort
there's
of,
an understanding.
you have to do it this way or that way. Yes, a complete understanding of that's okay. You want to be in church, pray to Jesus for rain. We'll talk to the ancestors. The ancestors will speak to Jesus in any case, and then Jesus will get the message, and it's all good. But the rain will come. It will come, and they have full faith. So they have quite a few. There's a Catholic church, actually. Interestingly enough, a Catholic church in an area that was so Finnish. In my conservancy, I'm about to meet those members at the end of June because I've set up contact there, preferably after the service. Churches and I, we don't do well, so yeah. So we'll, I'll get a little bit more, but what is interesting for me is just this complete acceptance of we can have this dual system, and if you don't want a Jesus and you just want a holy fire, that's cool. Or if you just want a Jesus and not holy fire at all, then that's cool. Let's just all work together and make it good. It's really
that is such a, I mean, again, we look at that, and isn't that what we are missing in the world when we're looking at the whole way that the Western world and the rest of the world, really, whether it's West, South, whatever, operates, is that the greatest wars that have been fought have been in the name of religion, and the greatest atrocities that one human being has committed on another has been committed in the name of the Bible. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what's in the Bible is wrong. It means how human beings have interpreted that, right? Yes. So it's everyone's interpretation of what that is. So honestly, if we just think of most of the judgment that goes on in the world, and that's the very thing that Jesus taught us not to do, is to judge, right? And that was the big thing. Do not judge.
Maybe, Chantelle, if I'm the way I'm thinking now, maybe the wars and all this drama with my God is the best God, my God is the right way, the only way. Maybe we're just coming from a space where we are in complete luxury. Maybe, I mean, the Oaks that started the wars and the Crusades and that, those were rich folk, right? These folks that I'm working with are dealing with sunrise, sunset, rain, grazing, berries. The time and the wealth is not the way we measure it. And maybe that's why they just know that there's far bigger things afoot than to worry about whether you pray for rain in a church or at a holy fire.
Exactly.
As long as the rain just comes, yes.
And it's the simplicity that goes along with that. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. The absolute simplicity that goes along with that is just, and this is where I think, again, what we can learn from the first people of this planet is really to go back to simplicity. Doesn't matter, whether you pray to God or Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or whatever. If your intentions, it's all about intention. If your intention is to love and be kind, because as you say, what's his name again? Njami Kurumba. Njami Kurumba, who's their God, and all that God is about kindness. So just to be kind.
And you don't get points for believing in him. You don't get points because there is no moral strength. It just is.
But isn't it just then, because what really happens is, what I believe anyway, is that God lives within all of us, right? We are all created in the image of God, right? So you don't have to go around. So when you've truly understood that, and this is why I keep saying, when people start throwing Bible verses at me, you've absolutely lost me. I promise you, I will be gone to you. because it means you haven't begun to actually apply those to your own life yet. So when you've innately understood this, when you've innately understood kindness, you are kind. When you've innately understood love, you act in a loving way. It doesn't mean you're a pushover, but it's like their God emanates that quality, which is, how do I say, flowed into all of them. So they themselves live that kindness and understanding. Yeah. So they don't have to prove anything to anyone. They don't need to go and say, well, Jami said this and Jesus said that. And, like now they're fighting with each other because who said what. And isn't it crazy that that is what Christianity actually does? So it separates, religions generally separate, segregate, and keep us divided. Now, when we understand that and I love that because each one of them will understand that something different resonates with everybody. Of them. So if Jesus resonates with you, Mother Mary resonates with you, Buddha resonates with you. Wow, tell me about Buddha, tell me about Mother Mary, tell me about Jesus. And then we can find a common thread, how it all comes together, because that's what I'm understanding these people are doing. They have understood that, they live it, they're simple, they don't need heels and Versace's and TikToks to put makeup on and how many hair extensions. They do not. They are living close to the earth. They have what they need. They are blessed every day. They've got the ones they love around them. Their rain comes, their cattle feed. They just...
And when it's dry, they make a plan. They make a plan.
Yes.
Just my last trip they were discussing the rotational grazing, and nobody is going, no, but that's my space, my cattle will graze there. No, everybody's like, okay, so those 2 posts are off limits for everybody until January. We don't know what's going to happen. So all the cattle, all the herds will be grazing rotationally and everybody agrees.
And when there's a disagreement, the elders come together,
the elders step in,
at the holy fire and figure it out.
They don't disagree because they know if the grazing is done, and if you lose your entire herd of cattle to drought, you know that somebody in your family will help you. And if your family member needs help then from a friend or from another member of the community, that too will happen. So everybody's in it together, including the elephants and the lions. They include them in that whole thing. It's what one of my research subjects, she said, so she had a honey badger come in and kill her chickens. And she said to me, so I said, God, I will have words with a honey badger, but make his family understand that they must stay away. She killed the honey badger. She said it was a nightmare. She was alone and it was at night, and she killed the honey badger. And she said she saw his family's eyes in the dark as she shone her torch. She saw their retinas, and then the honey badgers left. She believes to this day, God helped. She didn't say Jesus did it. She said, I said, God, I will have words with this honey badger. But then they must stay away. Yeah. She's also the one that said, if the elephant comes past here by my house, his mom and his dad came past here, so he has a right to come past here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about elephants, right? Is that they will always have their trail because they obviously migrate.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people don't understand is that they will then see elephants.
Yeah.
What, sorry?
It's the one route. It's the one route that they follow that route of the herd. It's the clan.
So
route.
Then what happens is when people come and then they build their houses and their great big lodges on the route of the elephant will tread through it. And then the elephant is now considered problematic and then gets shot, right, by the big game hunters.
It's what happened in India. The maize farming went higher up the mountain, and it was the elephant's monsoon route. I don't know the specific state, but I did read the research, but it's a couple of years back. And elephants, of course, I mean, who's not loving a raw mealie, right? It's fantastic. And it's right there on the way up for pre-monsoon season. I've been doing this for many years, and now God has come and put all this food down for us. So what the communities did, because of course the elephant is most sacred in India, they planted a buffer zone of 1 kilometer on each side of the route of tea. Elephants don't eat tea. It's fine. There's no issue. The elephants just migrate up past these tea fields, and the maize is fine.
That's smart thinking, right? So
Yes.
if you're in that position where we've got to start learning, and we have to learn how to share, because we are really, animals are there to be our companions. And the only time an animal breeds excessively is when it's in danger of losing its species. We know that. So if we're going to kill them excessively, they're going to breed more.
You just put a terrible thought into my mind here, the word share. I'm going to include that into, yes, I'm going to include that in my next questionnaires. Yes, share. Okay, because I haven't used that word.
Share alike. It is sharing, because that's why we have to be able to do that. And the more that we're able to find that balance, the less aggressive animals are, and the more humans. Unfortunately, we have this thing. If we don't understand it, if we know it, we've got to kill it. Kill the spider, kill the mouse, kill the rat, kill it, kill the snake, kill. We've got this kill culture. And the more we decide to kill, the more they're going to breed. Let us always never forget that.
Yeah. Do you think the kill thing, is that not because we have dominion? Because we've been...
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, these archetypes we know with the snake, the Bible, Adam and Eve, there's archetypes.
Yeah.
And this dominion thing, that we have control, we are better, we're cleverer, we know more.
That's the problem, because when there's a difference between having dominion, because dominion implies that we have domination, really. We dominate. We get to dominate. Because we think we're top of the food chain, we now get to decide who lives and dies and what gets eaten and what doesn't, right? And we've confused that with stewardship. We are not dominators of this planet, although we've become that, unfortunately, in the dark side of things. But we really are stewards, which means we take care of things, which means we take care of the animals, we take care of each other, like those people, the Ovahereru, right, that you're talking about, that you're visiting with. They are absolute stewards. And I can understand why she would have then killed the honey badger.
But just the one. She said it was just, she said, you must talk. I will have words with him, but make sure his family knows. Just the one, and she only killed the one. Yeah.
And then she saw the eyes of the others and understood that they saw, and they never came back because they did not want that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
she didn't randomly throw poison or, set traps. She went out on her own, caught it. She did set her own sort of trap, but she was there. Was it a box trap or a gin trap or whatever trap? And she got him and she killed him. It was quite dangerous, but she had to for her chickens.
Anyone who kills a honey badger, because has anyone seen a honey badger go for a lion? You got to know those things are absolutely relentless. So,
but they are awesome to kiss.
Very brave. But that's why I say it was a brave lady. She had a beef with him. You know what? This is how we're settling it.
Yeah.
In this case, eye for an eye.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. But it's done with prayer and consciousness. Yeah. It's done with consciousness. You see, this right here is what we've lost. We've lost that conscious connection to nature, to each other, to our animals. And we think they are there, that they are ours to consume.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten that they too are sentient beings, because as long as something is living and walking and has eyes and has etc., and basically insect or animal or anything that lives, it has a soul. Not just does it have a soul, it has consciousness. Vegetation, nature, has consciousness. It does not have a soul, right? But when we're dealing with a live animal, it has a soul as well as consciousness.
I think the
So
Ovaherero might disagree with you on nature not having a soul. They would probably
I
disagree with
said,
you
no,
on
it definitely has its consciousness, definitely. And it has this unique consciousness that vibrates out of that tree, definitely. And that, I think, in my opinion, makes up the entire spectrum of this earth. But when we looking at, let's say, a human being or an animal that is incarnating, that is actively moving, right? You're moving.
Yep.
That to me would be the difference between having consciousness and having it. But hey, I could be wrong. That's just what I've kind of figured out
I just made
in my
another
journey.
note. Field work. We'll find out. I'll go ask them. Don't worry.
Cool. No, I'd like to. I'd be interested to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting because, okay, then I want to ask you, what through your experience that you've learned from the Ovaherero people, and how can we implement that knowledge into a modern day society? And obviously, I understand it's going to take time and da 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 da. But how does one get back to a semblance of those roots? No one, I mean, you, no one wants to go and live in the corner of Namibia in a
A mud hut.
pandoki
Yeah.
or a, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People are not going to be turned on by that. So how do we bring that consciousness to modern day society?
The only way you're going to do it, Chantelle, is if you submit yourself to the laws of nature. We are, well, we think we are. We are not free from the rules of Mother Nature. We need her. We need Mother Earth. She's going to shrug us off soon. She shrugged off countless before us. She will again. Those people understand their cycles because they're in tune with nature. My son also is growing up in an urban environment, and he's gone to the ISAP Junior Ranger course, and then he was selected to be a ranger, a trainer ranger. So he's training now to become a ranger. And just those nights out with the right guidance and people that are tuned into, look at that, look at that, look at that, D'Artagnan has changed. I
Wow.
think children must just, if we can subject them to nature and remind them of those cycles and those rhythms, they will discover it themselves. Because nothing that we knew, because we were all first people, all of us were first people at some point, wherever we were. None of us have forgotten any of that. It's right there.
Absolutely. Now, I'm interested also. I know you have very strong links to the Norse
Yes.
culture.
Yeah.
So what you were saying was what the Ovaherero and the Norse people, there are similarities. What is the similarities between that? Like, obviously, the Norse were the first white skinned people.
They were the first Europeans. They were
Yeah,
the first Europeans, Scandinavians. The
yeah,
Vikings, though, we all know them as the lovely
yeah,
Ragnar, but yeah, the Calvin Klein model. But no, it's just interesting for me that from Central Africa, you have a theme that comes down all the way to northern Namibia, and you are made from a tree. When All Father Odin created everybody from a log, we came from a log. And I'd be interested to see how far this goes. I mean, Graham Hopwood will have you believe, Hancock will have you believe, Graham Hancock will have you believe in Fingerprints of the Gods, that every single First Nation has the tall, white-haired, bearded man in the white kaftan who is their ultimate supreme God. He will have you believe that in that book. And there's
yeah,
enough references to show that tribally and taking into account geographic differences amongst differences of how people look geographically, to have that one singular kind of image of a Makuru or a Odin or a whatever, Muhammad, that you have that those similarities are what fascinates me and almost wants me to convert to something, although I'm not going to, because where do they come from?
yeah.
I mean, Central Africa
Absolutely.
certainly has a lot of trees, but I don't know if the leadwood is in Central Africa. I know the leadwood is here. I just don't know if it's there. So there's all these things, but those are not PhD related studies. So my prof keeps pulling me back and saying to me, you need to focus. Focus, 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 focus. Don't get distracted. So I can't go into those, although I do. I really want to go and look. I want to go and dig. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, from Central Africa to far northern Europe, Scandinavia, and you both come from a tree. That's interesting. Don't you think?
Totally. I mean, it really is. And if you really look at a tree, it's the same as a human being. You know, we start with a seed, and when we are nurtured in a good environment, we grow, we blossom, we bloom.
I wonder what the Native Americans say about the redwoods. You know, General Sherman and his whole forest of one tree, just all spread out like that. I wonder what they say. We must go, oh, God, we have so much research to do. Yes. I'll Google that on an off day, I promise. I'll try and find out.
Well, the tree is really significant of growth. And I think, you know, a tree is symbolic of everything, really, when you look at that. And of course, I think every culture will interpret it in the way that works for them. But it really is, you know, that seed, the growth, the nurturing, the environment, the blossoming, the blooming,
but you see,
and eventually bearing your fruit.
But then we are all the same.
Yes, exactly.
The people who were all exposed to nature, that were subject literally on a daily basis, not heaters and fans and curtains and duvets, people who were exposed to nature, communities, all have the same themes. So then we are all the same. And we do all interpret the same. And then we do all come from the same place.
Exactly.
Right? Please, nobody shoot me for that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it is the same, because there are so many of these common threads. We've got to be motivated by the same thing. I mean, some dude in Central Africa is sitting there saying, let's write down the story of Makuru and let's make this tree. And then in Europe, in Scandinavia, somebody is feeling the same way.
Yes, we're all interconnected. It's the web of life. You know, and it's consciousness. That's what I'm saying. We're tuning into each other's consciousness without even realizing that we are.
Interesting that you say it that way as well, because that's what the head of my communities, the people that I've been speaking to, they consider what the lion is feeling before he took the cow. Or they consider that what the elephant was feeling before he broke in and trampled the garden. So they have this consideration. Yes, hungry or naughty. We get naughty a lot. Or they say the springbok herd was very far and that waterhole was dry. So the lion wasn't going to go there. He was going to come here and the cow was there. So they consider sort of, okay, so what's he thinking now? Not you vermin and you come into my land and you come and you kill my herd. They don't.
Yeah, they understand that obviously he's a predator. He's gonna eat. He's gonna, you know, that's what he does. So where's his most obvious place? And how can I protect my animals or my stock from that?
It's amazing. Like my honey badger lady. She said, I mean, she was raising two children from other households, other homesteads who were having it hard, little ones, and she needed the eggs. Her cows were fine, and she said now she had this problem. There's the one honey badger. So she had to put a stop to it because whatever protection she put up, he came in. And so she said, okay, this the one. She said, I spoke to God. I said, we will have words. That was her way of, we are having words. So she had her words. But yeah, she had to. She had no choice. Jackie Jackie says she's also naughty when she's hungry. Yeah. The elephants apparently, Jackie, are very naughty when they are hungry. I tell you, those communities make so many excuses.
But the thing is, if you've come close to an elephant, right, you will know they are freaking mischievous. I've worked a lot with elephants. There's a look in that elephant's eye and you just know. And of course, being a communicator, it was actually very nice to be able to connect and actually chit chat with them as well. But they are hilarious. There's a look in the eye. They'll do something with a trunk, and you know, hang on, hang on, hang on. They actually, and that's, you can imagine that elephant going, okay, here's a garden.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
see. was it,
Yeah. And
was
they
it
are
naughty or
forgiven
angry?
because they are so respected. They are so revered. There's so much respect for them and for their hearts and their minds. The elephants' hearts and minds. They are so humanized where they are in
Totally.
Ehi, where I'm working, that I can't even picture any of those communities actually doing any harm to them. It's
Yeah, it's
remarkable.
like they know them. It's like my guinea fowl that come to me every day and attack my
Yes.
garden. I mean,
Yes.
you and like I know them all now. It's like you just see, you go, that one, that one, that, and that one's got that personality, that, and they all have different characteristics. It's like your children eventually. It really is. You know, you get to know them. They come, and then you'll probably get the ones that chase them away, and no doubt you're going to get the animal communicators of the herds as well. I wanted to actually talk about that because in many, like, have you seen how some of these animal whisperers work? Like, you'll find a lot of these game rangers, like African dudes, right? But they've got such a connection to these animals, and that elephant is charging him. Ooh, his ears going and his trumpet blowing. I mean, that's a pretty scary flippant sound, I want to tell you. And the guy just stands there calm and he does his thing, and 3 meters away, the elephant stops. And then he talks to him, and you can see how the communication goes. And then the elephant and the herd go off. I mean, you know, you've heard the story about, what was that, the elephant whisperer, was it? The guy that actually rescued 15 elephants.
Yes.
And they stayed, and when he died, they all marched in procession to him on the day of his funeral. That was incredible. That's a beautiful story, The Elephant Whisperer. If you guys can ever get hold of that book, it just shows the connection we have with animals and how nature and animals actually work together. I mean, it's incredible. And
if we can just get into step as humankind, then maybe we can all work together, because we're a bit out of step. Nature, animal kingdom, they're all happily in step. It's just us that keep coming and tripping up this rhythm.
Yeah, we want to try this, we want to try that. Earth is, yeah, but you know, there's a lot of very destructive. It's what Jackie says. Yeah, they're part of the foundation of the tribe. It's true. All that, you know, especially the elephant and the lion. And you know that. I mean, even in certain parts of Africa, I know Kenya. I'm not sure if that's been with the what are the Kenyan tribes? Yanna, the ones with the red.
The Maasai.
Maasai.
The Maasai.
They would to become a man, they would have to kill a lion, but they would also just have a spear.
Yeah.
And you know, so they would go, and they would, you know, it's like a one-on-one. But they taught from very young. I mean, I don't agree with that. I don't agree. You don't have to kill nothing to prove you're a man. I'm sorry, but I guess that's African culture. But in other ways as well, they're very, very respectful. And I mean, I've got friends in Kenya. The one dude, he's like, when I'll be having a Zoom meeting with him and his whole family, and running around, and the chickens, and then you see the baboons in the back, and the hippo walking out. It's like amazing. They all live in harmony, and everyone knows the hippo is the most dangerous animal, actually. By the way, the hippopotamus, for those of you who don't know, has taken the most lives in Africa.
Grass-eating thing. Yes, that one is the most dangerous of them all. Welcome to Africa.
Yeah, exactly. You think it's such a cute thing.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, wow. So that's actually pretty cool. I love hearing this, and it's really good to know that even though it might be in small bits, that these tribes are alive and well, and still holding the thread for the rest of us to get back to that part of ourselves. I don't know. Is there anything else from you that you still wanted to share today? Whatever.
I'm just glad I had this chat with you, because I've got a few more questions that I can integrate for my communities. You and I should talk later. If you have questions, specific ones, you can give them to me and I
Yeah.
can ask them when I'm there.
Cool. Definitely. Will do. Definitely. And if any of the viewers have any questions,
Yes.
interesting. Yeah. You
I
guys can
forget
just let
about
us
that.
know.
So one-on-one here. Yes, if anybody's out there, they've got a question, send it in and I'll make sure to ask it and we'll answer it the next time we chat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, wow. Okay. Well, it's been so awesome catching up with you again. And always love these amazing. My cats are fighting. The one's trying to get on and the other one won't let her. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You see, sharing is caring. Tell them, Chantelle.
Yeah, Zazie. It's sharing, my love. Anyway,
It's called for
she's
everybody.
so solemn. I can't believe she's actually come on today. She never ever shows her face
I saw
anywhere
her when
near
she,
a
yeah,
Zoom call. Yeah, so interesting.
Superman.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I love you madly. We will catch up with you in a month again from today, where Yanna will be sharing with us more of a super interesting PhD travels and all of the latest information from the African First People. Love it.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Okay, I see Morné's internet has probably given up. Hang on, I've got to do this again. I'll get it right without having to tell you all. Only reason I'm telling you is because I must look like an idiot trying to scroll up and down here. Okay. Mwah. Bye, everybody. Like, share,
Bye.
subscribe. We'll catch you soon.